What's up, people? Welcome to the video and welcome back, members of the Tang Gang. As we all know, the Overwatch League is currently in the middle of its mid-season break, but last week on Wednesday and Thursday was the Overwatch League 2019 All-Stars event. It's always fun to see the best of the best in the league come together and have some fun playing Overwatch. The Atlantic and Pacific divisions faced off in the All-Star Arcade, the Talent Takedown, the Widowmaker 1v1, and of course the All-Star game itself. None of these exhibition matches hold any weight in the regular season, of course, but I'll be recapping them just the same. First up, I want to say thanks to everybody who's participating in the Overwatch League merch giveaway. You guys are absolutely popping off, sharing the announcement video, retweeting the tweet. Everything has been super awesome so far. We've already gotten way more entries than I anticipated in the first couple of days, and just in case you haven't entered yet, it is still live. You can still enter until next Monday the 27th at midnight, so go ahead and click the link in the description below right now and enter. And if you've already entered, don't forget to go activate your daily entries. I love that you guys are so hyped about it, and I'm super hyped as well. I cannot wait to find out who wins. Anyway, sorry for the long intro, but now with all that out of the way, let's jump into the recap for Overwatch League 2019 All-Star Weekend. First up, let's talk about the Talent Takedown. This one is always fun because we get to watch the Overwatch League talent team face off in the actual game. Playing for the Atlantic division, we had Zoe, Bren, Puckett, Hex, Monty, Doa, and Sideshow. And on the Pacific side, we had Danny, Achilleos, Mika, Uber, Mr. X, Semler, and Wolf. They started out with a game of 6v6 elimination on Necropolis, and the Atlantic talent absolutely slaughtered the Pacific talent with a 3-0 victory. Then they went over to Watchpoint Gibraltar for a payload map. This one was a lot closer, but the Atlantic talent ended up taking it 4-3. Bren was absolutely popping off on Widow, honestly. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It is awesome. And since it was best 2 out of 3, the Atlantic had already won, but they played control on Lijiang anyway, and the Pacific actually took it 2-0. So you never know, if they played a regular set, Pacific might have been able to reverse sweep this. All in all though, just like last year, the Atlantic talent seemed pretty dominant over the Pacific talent, which of course is exactly how it should be. Let's go Atlantic! After the Talent Takedown, the rest of the events were just for Overwatch League players, so let's go over those rosters real quick. The Atlantic All-Stars were Poco from the Philly Fusion, Jonak from New York Excelsior, Pine from New York Excelsior, Fusions from the Boston Uprising, Carpe from Philly Fusion, Arc from the Washington Justice, Mono from NYXL, Gesture from London Spitfire, Cruz from Paris Eternal, Sayaplayer from Florida Mayhem, Dogman from Atlanta Reign, Nico from Toronto Defiant, Dante from Houston Outlaws, Meko from New York Excelsior, Animo also from NYXL, Nene also from NYXL, Prophet from London Spitfire, and Fury also from London Spitfire. The Pacific All-Stars were Jinmu from Chengdu Hunters, Ameng also from Chengdu Hunters, Yveltal also from Chengdu Hunters, Fleta from Seoul Dynasty, Ryuja Hong from Seoul Dynasty, Gushwei from Hangzhou Spark, Violet from the San Francisco Shock, Sinatra from the Shock, Slime from Vancouver Titans, Haksal from Vancouver Titans, Twilight from Vancouver Titans, Decay from LA Gladiators, OG from Dallas Fuel, Shu from the Guangzhou Charge, Space from the LA Valiant, DM from the Shanghai Dragons, Super from San Francisco Shock, and Bumper from the Vancouver Titans. Obviously an absolutely star-studded roster on both sides. Their first event was the beginning of the Widowmaker 1v1, a crowd favorite event. These matches pit 2 players against each other 1v1 playing Widowmaker with headshots only and no SMG. The quarter and semifinal matches are first to 7 wins, and the first matchup was between DM from the Shanghai Dragons and Violet from the San Francisco Shock. Now of course you'll notice that Violet is not a DPS player. You'll typically see him on like Ana or Zen, which are still pretty aim intensive characters, so I guess it makes sense that he wanted to enter the Widowmaker 1v1. And on the other side, DM, while he hasn't been able to play much DPS this season, he is a DPS player, and a pretty good Widow at that. So Violet was of course the underdog, and unfortunately he was unable to get a single kill on DM and lost 7-0. The next matchup was Shu from the Guangzhou Charge versus Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. Back in Season 1, people were praising Fleta as like the best Widowmaker that ever lived, so this is definitely an intimidating opponent for a support player like Shu. That being said though, Shu went up 2-0 in the competition, and it actually looked like he might make it pretty close. He held on to the lead for a little while, but then Fleta ended up popping the switch and took back the win 7-3. Up next was Season 1 MVP Jonak versus his teammate Big Boss Pine. Pine is known as the big boss for his huge plays on hitscan heroes like Widowmaker, so obviously Jonak was at a disadvantage here. With some help from his Atlantic teammates backing him up, Jonak was able to get 2 kills on Pine, but that's all he was able to do, and Pine won 7-2. And the last quarterfinals match was another New York Excelsior player, Nene versus Philadelphia Fusion's Carpe. In contrast to the fact that Carpe was able to show off his Widow last season, we haven't really seen Nene on Widow at all in the league yet. And after watching this epic battle, I can say I'm definitely not looking forward to it. I mean, if you're a New York Excelsior fan, you definitely are, because Nene actually has insane skills on this Widow. He went toe-to-toe with Carpe, who I predicted would win the whole thing, actually holding the lead for the entire match I think, and ended up winning in a nail-biter 7-6. Moving on to the semifinals, we had DM versus Fleta. Similar to the last matchup, we had a powerhouse Widow from last season in Fleta versus the newbie DM. And once again, the rookie took the victory, this time in a little bit more dominant fashion, 7-4. DM was able to hold the lead the entire time, and he made it clear that he was not going to be taken down easily. Then we had the other semifinals match, 2 New York Excelsior players, Pine versus Nene. This was another super intense and close match with the players trading blows back and forth until it ended up 6-6. 1 kill decides it all, and Nene came out on top 7-6. So despite all my expectations, it ended up being 2 rookies in the finals in Nene versus DM. These two would battle it out to decide which division had the better Widow. They had to wait until the next day to face off on Eco Point Antarctica, and it started out pretty close. This finals match was first to 9 kills instead of 7. DM held a pretty consistent lead, but then Nene brought it back to 5-6. It looked like he might be able to pull off the comeback. But 5 was all Nene would get because DM would go on a 3-kill streak and end up winning 9-5 for the Pacific Division. Am I disappointed that Atlantic didn't win? Yes, but the Widowmaker play was absolutely superb. I can't complain when I get to watch 1v1s like that. After the Widowmaker quarter and semifinals on Wednesday, we had the AllStars Arcade. This is also a pretty fun mode to watch if you're into the arcade modes. The first mode they played was Sibling Rivalry, which is 6v6 on Hanamura, 3 Genjis and 3 Hanzos per team. And while everyone on your team insta-locking a Shimada might sound like a nightmare on ladder, at least in this game mode the other team is also forced to do the same thing. The Genjis were running absolutely rampant with nothing able to stop their blades, and aside from Genji deflect, Hanzo was able to shoot arrows freely without issue. As someone who's complete trash at both of these heroes, I wouldn't enjoy playing it, but it was definitely great to watch. The Pacific Division was able to cap both points on their attack and hold the Atlantic Division on second for a 2-1 victory. Next up was Healers Never Die, 6v6 on Nepal, supports only, 1 hero limit. Now this is my type of game mode. Ana was pretty much a necessity because otherwise there's no way to stop all the healing coming from all 6 players on the enemy team. Pacific won pretty dominantly on Village, Atlantic brought it back with a close win on Shrine, but Pacific was able to close it out with an even closer match on Sanctum and ended up winning 2-1. So Pacific was on match point going into the next game mode, terrible damage. 6v6 on Hollywood, damage heroes only, 1 hero limit. And this one was kind of unfair because Atlantic Division played a lot of their DPS players like Carpe and Nene, whereas the Pacific Division I don't think played any DPS players at all. It was actually amazing to see all the main tanks like Fusions, Gesture, Gushui, and Bumper playing DPS. But as we all know, just because you play a role in the Overwatch League doesn't mean you can't play other roles as well. Hollywood ended up going to the Atlantic Division 3-2. So now Atlantic had a chance to tie it up in the 4th match. I'm not sure if they actually would have played a 5th one to break the tie or just called it a tie. I really don't know. But map 4 was keeping the peace, 6v6 on Route 66, McCree only. Very interesting choice of game modes. It was kind of just chaos, everybody just popping high noon whenever they feel like it all together. For the most part, both teams put in players that had at least some experience playing McCree, so it wasn't like anybody was just missing shots constantly or anything. And then of course forcing overtime on the payload is not really going to happen since McCree is such a slow character. With that being said, it heavily favored the defense and the Pacific Division ended up winning 2-1 for the 3-1 overall victory in the All-Star Arcade event. But of course what actually matters is the official All-Star game which happened on Thursday. The teams don't usually take it too seriously, but it's still really fun to watch the best of the best in Overwatch come together and play against each other. It was first to 4 wins, and first up was Nepal. Atlantic Division won 2-0, then on Kings Row they won 3-2, and on Paris they won 2-1. That means after 3 maps they already had match point. But their dreams of a 4-0 died on Dorado when Pacific Division struck back 2-1. Even though I was rooting for the Atlantic squad, I was hoping a Pacific comeback was on the horizon. Unfortunately though, they went to Busan and Atlantic was able to take it 2-0 for the 4-1 victory in the Overwatch League 2019 All-Star match. So if you look at the 4 events, Atlantic won 2 and Pacific won 2, but really the ones that really matter are the Talent Takedown and the official All-Star game, which were both won by the Atlantic Division. So I say the official winners are the Atlantic Division. If you disagree, then get at me down in the comments. And on your way down there, don't forget to stop by the description and click on the giveaway link if you haven't already. Guys, you can win a free Overwatch League t-shirt of your choosing. Do not miss out on this giveaway. It ends next Monday, May 27th. Speaking of which, as soon as I draw the winners, there will be a video about it, and I'm planning a video for next Wednesday on my predictions for Overwatch League Stage 3. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, join the Tang Gang, and never miss a video. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Don't forget to like the video, and until we meet again, later people.